come on in. Thank you all for being here. We're just waiting, letting a couple people into the room, a couple more of you. Hi. Oh, amazing. We have two of our 3 ever executive directors, whoever executive directed for Usdan. Hi, Dale. Hi, Mr.
Hi,
Lewis.
how are you?
Hi.
Good to
Hi,
see you.
Lauren. Thank you both for
Good
being
evening.
here. I'm so glad you're here. Hello, everyone. Come on in. Welcome, welcome. This is Conversations with You. This is the second ever of our series that we're doing here for our Usdan alumni panels. Tonight is our music panel. I am Kira Leeds. I am Usdan's Community Relations Senior Associate. I am also an actor and I am an alum too. I went for many, many summers and loved my time here. And before we start, we would love to take a moment to make a land acknowledgement. So Olivia, if you could pull that up for us. Usdan sits on the territory and ancestral homeland of the Massapequa peoples of Great Water Land. The Massapequas did not sell nor give away this land. The land was taken from them. We offer this acknowledgement to take a step toward correcting the stories and practices that erase Indigenous peoples' history and culture. We can honor the living heritage of the Massapequa by aiming to live peacefully and harmoniously with the natural life of Usdan's woods. And to help our panelists bring back memories of music floating to the trees of Usdan's, floating through the trees of Usdan's woods, we'd love to play you a quick video of our music department. Take it away, Olivia.
One moment. Oh, so sorry.
I hope that got your memories back to you. I hope that puts you back in the woods. And with that, I would love to pass it over to our moderator for the evening, Michelle Simone Miller. Hi, Michelle.
Hey guys, I'm so happy to do this again. I don't know if you were with us last month for our first ever Conversations with You panel as part of the series. We were doing theater. Now we're doing music. I'm so excited about this one. My name is Michelle. I was also an alumna at Usdan. I was a theater major and I'm an actress now, so it didn't really change too much for me. And I'm also a host of a podcast called Mentors on the Mic, where I interview incredible people in the entertainment industry about how they started and how they moved up. So I love to interview people. I love to moderate panels. And yeah, let's just get right into it. We're doing another one next month. So at some point, we're going to put in the chat like the date and just a little bit about that one, but it will be in the visual arts realm. So that will be very exciting. And Conversations with You, which is the series that we're doing, that we're part of, is Usdan's panel discussion series where we bring together alumni from various fields to discuss their careers and lives. So through University Conversations with You, we hope to connect our impassioned community and draw inspiration from the ways in which former Usdan students are contributing creatively to the world, and they are definitely contributing so much. The Usdan alum is just so vast and incredible, and there's so many people who are continuing to do what they love and they're passionate, and so we're just wanting to celebrate that. So our next event is May 18th. It's at the same time as today. Feel free to I think we put the link exactly, register for the next event here. So feel free to join us. And our theater panel last month featured people, and that's available as a recording if you want to check it out. I think we're going to add that in the chat as well. So feel free to check it out later, obviously not now. And just before we go on, and we have our panelists introduce themselves, I wanted to ask, like, who are you guys in the audience? So who is in the room today? We're going to do a quick poll, and I just want you to answer, are you an alum? Are you a staff or faculty? Are you current camper? This also is, former staff or faculty. Are you a camper? Are you a donor? Are you a parent? And then also, what brings you here today? Do you want to connect with other alum? Are you just interested in learning about working in the music industry or the performing arts industry? Are you just like, I love Usdan, I don't care what they do, I miss it and I want to be a part of it? Are you just here for fun? We just kind of want to have an idea of who's in the audience, and that might reflect a little bit on how we're going to run this discussion. At the end, we're going to have about 15 or so minutes for a Q&A. So feel free throughout this panel to put in your questions in the chat. And at the end, we'll have some time to answer them. Hold on, I might be holding up because I have not submitted my stuff. But yeah, so throughout the chat, throughout the panel, just please put in your questions in the chat. And we'll be able to pick a couple of them and ask our panelists. So who are we? Okay, we have 35% staff and faculty. There's some parents in the audience. There's alum in the audience, and there's some current campers representing. We love it. And then a lot of people are here just for fun, and a lot of people are also interested in learning more about what it's like to work in the industry. Very interesting. Thanks, guys. All right, so we know a little bit about me. We know a little bit about the audience. Let's talk about our panelists. So we have a really, really incredible group of people here. There's one person on the West Coast. There's some people on the East Coast. There are people who perform and play music. There are people who direct, and so there's just different people. And I want them to introduce themselves because I always think it's more interesting for them to do it. So let's start with whoever's next to me. So Jane, can you introduce yourself? And we're going to add one more thing. I'd like you to come up with some favorite memory of being at Usdan. So just an introduction, like a little bit of who you are, and just one thing you absolutely love and remember about Usdan.
Well, let me see. My name's Jane Monheit. I'm a jazz vocalist. I live in Los Angeles. I attended Usdan in 1989, 1990, and 1991 when I was like 11, 12, and 13. So I was just a little kid when I was there, and I did junior chorus my first year in creative writing, and then after that, my last 2 years I did theater, and learned so much. It was amazing, and I'm still very friendly with a lot of the staff that I knew there and worked with. And my son went to Usdan, which was amazing for several years. I performed there at many millions of assemblies. So my relationship with Usdan has stayed really, really close throughout my adult life, which is amazing. And as far as a favorite memory, I don't know. I think it was just finding my friends, finding my world, because I had a tough time in school. You know what I mean? I had a tough time with bullies and things like that. And I got to Usdan, and that all went away. And I found my community of human beings that I needed to be a part of, and I think that was my best memory.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Matt, do you want to go next?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yep, hear you great.
Okay. Well, first of all, Jane Monheit, I just wanted to say I'm such a fan of yours for years. I just
Thank you.
love your work, and it's just so nice to meet you personally.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you.
So I'm Matt Eisenstein. I was a camper at Usdan, I think summers of 82, 83, 84, 85, when I was like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. And at that point, I wasn't really interested in piano. I was in junior chorus like Jane. And I just wanted to be in the shows with Mrs. Gates. And my favorite memory actually is when the last summer I was there, I played Daddy Warbucks and Annie with the bald cap. Now I have it on permanently. But when I was there, I did junior chorus and I did art and sculpture, painting. But I think maybe like the third and fourth summer I was there, did like junior chorus, major and minor. And then when I was in college, I came and worked at Usdan for 2 summers in the modern dance department, not as a dancer, but as a modern dance accompanist. So I really got a chance to kind of like get those kind of creative juices going, where I just kind of like improvise. Where as ballet, you pretty much play a lot of written music, and modern dance is like, oh, we want to do something that feels like this. Anyway, I've made my career as a Broadway music director, conductor, piano player, vocal coach. I've been involved with over 45 Broadway shows. Most recently, I did the whole run of Frozen. I did Something Rotten. I did Newsies. You could look me up. And I actually, studied classical piano. I went to Eastman School of Music in Queens College, but I always had a love for musical theater. So that's kind of the direction that I went into. But I still do, play some chamber music here and there, and some jazz, and, whatever I can get my hands on. But primarily my world is the musical theater world.
And we love that world. It's a great world. We all appreciate that world. Oh, thank you for that. And then Elise, how about you go next? Just a little bit about yourself and a favorite Usdan memory.
Sure. So I'm actually on the West Coast right now. So obviously I lived in New York, on Long Island when I was growing up. I'm a French horn player, first of all. And it's actually very interesting learning about all of you. It's awesome to be part of this. So I'm a French horn player in the Los Angeles Philharmonic. I recently won this position in October, so I moved out here in January. But a lot has happened since Usdan. I moved all around the country because you kind of have to follow this career path. You can't really choose where you want to live sometimes. But so yeah, I attended Usdan for 3 summers. I was in the band program. I also did a minor in chamber music. I think my last summer and my first 2 summers, I did a minor in painting, which was really fun. And for undergrad, I ended up going to the Colburn Conservatory. It's in downtown Los Angeles. It's actually right across the street from the building that I now work in, which is kind of cool. And for my master's, I went to Northwestern. And then I've had 3 previous jobs before. So my first job was in the Sarasota Orchestra in Florida. So after Chicago, I went to Florida and stayed there for 2 years, and then moved back out to the West Coast for Pacific Symphony, which is in Orange County. And then the San Diego Symphony very shortly after. And now I'm in LA.
Amazing. Yeah. I have so many specific questions. I don't know if the audience does, about how it is to audition for these type of things or try out for these type of things. It's a whole world that I'm fascinated with, and I just have no idea about, but so I'll definitely try to figure out if I can squeeze that in there just for you. And Sam, Elise, do you have a favorite Usdan memory? Did I miss that?
No. Okay. I mean, I have plenty memories.
Yeah.
I remember I was talking with my sister the other day. I told her I was doing a little talk with Usdan alumni, and she said we both remembered how during the assemblies you'd had to be really quiet, and if a bug landed on you, you had to just not scream, and you have to be really respectful. And that was just, I don't know, it wasn't my favorite memory, but it's definitely a funny memory.
Oh, 100%. I don't know if I told the story last time, but one of my memories is I was in the theater and I got stung by a bee on my finger. And I remember having to go like that, just really just in pain. But, now that I see bees in life, I don't get as nervous because I'm wait, I'm not stung by a bee. I can handle it. It's not that bad. But yeah, bugs would just, it would be flying things come at us all the time in that theater. Excellent. And Sam, last but certainly not least, I wanted to give you some time to think of a Usdan memory. If you could introduce yourself and then also provide us with a memory.
Okay, great. Well, my name is Sam Dillon. I'm a jazz saxophone player. And first, let me say it's an honor to be on the panel with all the talented people here. and especially to be part of the Usdan community. I guess where do I start? I've been freelancing for about 20 years in and around New York City, all over the world at this point. I'm a member of the Mingus Big Band, Jimmy Heath Jazz Orchestra, Slide Hampton Octet, probably on a whole, maybe I think like over 30 albums as a sideman and 4 as a leader at this point. And Matt actually might know my good buddy, Charlie Rosen, who just won a Grammy. I'm part of that band as well, the 8-Bit Big Band, which is a crazy production where we're doing big band music. We're doing video game music for big band. It's kind of an amazing feat that he's doing. And I'm just basically, doing the freelance thing in New York. Let's see, my memory. Usdan is very special. I was there for, I think, 4 years from around 96 to 2000. And during that time, Jimmy Heath was actually a special guest one summer. And so he actually taught me my first pentatonic scale at that point. And to kind of have that experience in my back pocket at Usdan, and now be teaching at Usdan, teaching pentatonic scales for the next generation, is a very kind of sacred, full circle experience that, I think is very special to the jazz world in particular. There's a mentorship role, that jazz has in it that Jane definitely knows. By the way, I'm a huge fan of Jane Monheit. I don't know if right, yeah. And so to have Usdan kind of almost be a catalyst for that kind of mentorship, handing down some of the lessons that I've learned in the Jimmy Heath Big Band and all the amazing bands that I'm lucky to be part of, to the next generation at Usdan, it really holds a special place in my heart.
Oh, I love that. I don't know if you saw in the chat, I think we have someone who's in the audience, who's going to be in the jazz ensemble this summer. So,
oh, fantastic.
I'm sure they're thrilled to meet you ahead of time. They're going to be telling people, hey, I went to this panel back in April and Scarlett, excellent.
Great.
All right. So, listen, all of you guys are so fantastic. I could do a whole thing just on each of you, right? But what I want to know, my first question would be, what is your first big win as a musician? What was something that you were like, you got, and it could be small, it could have just, for you, felt big. But I think it'd be great for the audience to kind of learn just what's a win for you? Because for all of you guys are all obviously have so many similarities, but you're all on different paths and you all have different things you want to focus on. And so I'm just curious, someone got stung by me as well. What's something for you would be, I had to read that. What would be something for you that would be like a first big win that you would want to share? Does anyone have anything that comes to mind first?
Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, when I was coming up, when I was in college at Manhattan School of Music, I did a giant jazz competition, and it was a major propeller for me. Do you know what I mean? It really started my career. So I guess you could say it was almost a literal win. I came in second, but yeah, it was at that time they were known as the Thelonious Monk Institute of Jazz, but now they're the Herbie Hancock Institute. And, if any young jazz musicians are listening, they're a wonderful organization to get involved with when you're older, when you're a little older, when you're more like college age. Yeah. Great people.
Is that typical for competitions to be a way in sometimes to the industry?
Very much so. In jazz vocals, there are certainly some major competitions. I can think of about 4 of them off the top of my head, including the Hancock competition. But yeah, that can be a really good jumping off point for people. And it certainly was for me.
So cool. Excellent. Thanks. Anyone else? Anyone else have a first win that they want to share? Thank you for that.
Well, yeah, I guess I'll piggyback on Jane's. I was actually also fortunate enough in my year to be part of the saxophone Thelonious Monk
Oh
competition, and that was 2013. And I remember that fondly, not even necessarily for the competition sake, but for the purpose of being able to be around like Wayne Shorter, Branford Marsalis, Jimmy Heath, Jane Ira Bloom, Bobby Watson, and that was the first time that I had been on such a grand stage like that in front of all of these luminaries, really kind of sitting there paying attention to everything I was doing. So, even though I didn't win, my friends always joke that me and my buddy came in last place out of 13 because we were the 13 semifinalists. But, we to be in that 13, as Jane knows, it's such a special tradition because all of the people who are invited there tend to be the people who are really successful in the jazz world, and I know all my idols had been there, and so for me to kind of have this kind of surreal experience of being accepted into this world was more than anything just a very big confidence boost for my own playing. And the one thing that I try to do when I'm teaching all the students is to give them some kind of sense of confidence, because I think that when you follow through with your own vision, you follow through with your own work ethic, your own aesthetic, and you really believe in yourself, that's when you're going to start to see the music start to shine. You have to believe in what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And I think so many times jazz can be such kind of like a fuzzy, like, what is this for some students? And they don't even know. But if they try and they make an honest effort of trying, and they continue to go and develop a strong sense of confidence in what they're doing and what they're playing, that usually leads to competitions like this and successes like that. So not just for me, but for kind of a lesson in how I teach, I would say the Thelonious Monk competition was a big milestone for me.
I love that because, you think about, just with both your answers alone, like you think, there's so much that's valuable that you get from these competitions. There's a networking component to it. You get to network with people, you get to meet people who are like mentors in your industry, but also, like you said, you get that confidence boost of like, I can do this. Like I'm validated for some of the work that I can do. And even if you don't place, even if you're second, or if you're just, not as far as you want the first time, maybe that's just encouragement to try again the following year. But it's nice to know that that's a way to get into the industry and to sort of, do it more professionally when you're older. Matt and Elise, how about anything come to mind for you guys?
Sure.
Matt?
I would say that when I started my career, I was doing a lot of like playing dance classes and acting classes, and then starting to do like music direct shows at summer stock and regional theaters, and then starting to do a little bit of Broadway subbing. And then I got a call out of nowhere that was an audition for Les Mis for the assistant conductor job for Broadway. And I went in just kind of like, okay, I'll go in, I'll play. I had a sight read, and then I didn't know that he was going to ask me to conduct as a musical supervisor. So he asked me to conduct through one of the songs from the show, Bring 'Em Home. And I had taken conducting lessons in college, but I really that wasn't my aim. But obviously it went well because the next day I got offered the job of the assistant conductor of Les Miserables on Broadway, and had never like conducted such a big piece. And at that point, the show was 3 hours and 15 minutes of constant music. So it's just, bars and bars and bars of music.
It's a strong show to just start off.
Yeah. So that was a big break for me, and I just really worked my butt off on it, and knew every detail and every nuance of the score. And after I started playing the show, then maybe a month later I was pushed up onto the podium to conduct a live performance of Les Miserables with no rehearsal.
I feel like that's what happens in theater. Like often you just like get pushed into the forefront without much rehearsal. So impressive.
yeah, that's the things you said, like, this is what I've always wanted to do, you know, so I just got to take the risk, take the chance, and let's see what happens, you know, and I'll prepare as much as I can, you know. But
in
yes.
a way, you were preparing all your life, right? You started Usdan,
Right.
you went off, you know, did it in college, and in a way, you were preparing all those years.
Right, and like Sam was just saying, you know, just having confidence boosters constantly, you know, like you go and take an audition. Oh, I got the job. He thought I was the best person for this job, you know. So
Yeah.
That plays a big role.
I love that. And I'm also starting to see people ask questions in the chats. I'm very excited about that. If you have any questions, another reminder, just put them in. But Elise, you were going to say something next?
Yeah, so I guess one of my first wins. So actually, it took me a while to win my first job. So I started taking auditions when I was 20 years old. I was a junior in college. And from that point, it took me 6 years to land my first job. So it's not easy. I think this was audition number 38 for me in Sarasota Orchestra. And I think once I won that, I had it in my head. I was like, I can do anything. Like, I've made it, and anything else is icing on the cake. And I think that was a really good perspective, because then after that, I kept doing well, but it was just being grateful for what I have, and I had already made it in my mind. That was really helpful.
Oh, that's so interesting. That change in mindset, that perspective change, where you're like, kind of what other people are saying too. Someone gave you that confidence boost, and you're like, I'm going to ride this out. I deserve this. I deserve to keep working. That helped.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so valuable, these things. Excellent. Cool. So let's keep going. How do you guys remain creative? So in any creative business, I feel like in any creative vocation, we have this issue sometimes where, like, there's a little bit of up and down, right? So there's definitely periods of time where you're maybe not working as much. And what's amazing about art is we get to do that ourselves. We get to create some of our own stuff during those moments. So especially, we just came out of a pandemic, right? A lot of things just stopped. How did you guys remain creative? What did you do during that time to keep, you know, playing and being creative and being artistic?
Well, it was interesting for me because, like, my entire adult life, from college, the end of college on, I had toured nonstop. I had never come off the road, really. You know, in jazz, that's what we do. We just don't really stop. We just go all the time. You know what I mean? There's no like routing of a nice tour. Really, you just sort of go to all the gigs all over the place, and you're hopping on a plane every day. You're laughing because you know how it is, right? So my husband is also a musician, is my drummer. So we'd been working together for all these years. Pandemic hits, and all of a sudden we're both out of work. So what are we going to do? How are we going to pay the bills? How are we going to pay for our very expensive teenager? You know what I mean? So and then it was a question of, how do we have music too? So we did an online show every month of the pandemic. We had to just sort of pivot and learn how to do it. My husband learned how to do sound and light and video editing and all of this kind of stuff. And we did a concert once a month from my pianist's apartment. And it was amazing. You know what I mean? And it really got us through. It really left us feeling like human beings at the end of all of it. You know what I mean? Because we got to make music at least once a month together. And that was everything during that time, you know?
That's so nice. I mean, it's a strange thing. I mean, this is another question, but I hope it can be related so that other people can answer both. But it's a strange thing sometimes when your passion becomes your job. Right? Don't you guys think, where that, like, for so many years you're working, you're work, you know, kind of like you're campers, you're students, you're going to high school, maybe college, and you're studying this thing and you're playing as much as you can. And then at some point you're like, wait, this is my career now. And then it becomes a different relationship. And so I don't want to change the question too much, because I like the other question. I'm curious what your answers are. But there is that element when, you know, especially when something like the pandemic happened, I feel like there's this element of, wait a second, I might not be able to do the thing I love for money anymore unless I find a pivot. So anyway, that's what that came to mind when I heard that. But I'm curious what the other answers are, what that brought up for you guys.
Well, yeah, I did a little bit of this similar thing. I was doing some live streams.
Yes.
And luckily, I did the AD program at Juilliard, and we had done an extensive amount of teaching around the world. So I had a lot of students on my Instagram account that I was able to convert into private lessons. So I kind of built a whole schedule for myself with lessons in Australia, Japan, and around the clock. And if I was able to, crank out 3 or 4 lessons a day, I was in business. And the kids were off because they weren't going anywhere also. So it turned into a pretty profitable change. And it actually also built some stronger connections with some students that I had seen in person. In Torino, they have a whole music program over there that I got to hang out with a bunch of saxophone students there I'm trying to remember what year that was, I guess 2016. But I had now all of them, students online. And that was nice to get to know them a little better too. And as a byproduct of that, I was able to actually kind of build a little bit of like a pedagogy and like a little bit of like a course curriculum thing just from teaching so much. So that also kept me motivated too, because half the stuff that you're teaching these kids is stuff that you're trying to practice yourself too. So you got to kind of hold yourself to the same standard, and it keeps you inspired because you want to come up with some new stuff for the next lesson. And it becomes kind of this whole online community. Now, there's nothing like the real thing in being in front of people in the audience. But during this time, I think, we're all creative people. And I think usually, luckily for us, we find a way to make it happen. And that's kind of the route I went.
I love that, Sam. That's so cool. How about Elise and Matt?
Sure. I did a lot of teaching as well. I had students in Australia too. It's crazy.
And those Australians, man, they were like, we're coming to the US virtually.
So, I was like doing piano lessons and I was doing like vocal coaching. But then, because a lot of singers were submitting videos for auditions, they needed accompaniments. So people were hiring me to.
Kira's like, yes.
Yeah. So
I've worked with Matt, and he's an incredible vocal coach. He's
Oh.
audition songs.
So that kept me pretty busy. And then I also kind of got into this YouTube channel thing where I would take funny videos and like accompany them. I have a whole like following. So that kind of
Can you share, when you're done, can you share your YouTube link? Or all of you can, obviously, but
sure.
I'm curious about that.
Yeah, some might not be appropriate for children.
Fair.
So yeah, but those are flagged actually.
Cool.
But yeah, that came out of, I never would have done that if I didn't have the time off, during the pandemic to think of something else to do creatively. And I also have 2 toddlers, so I was home with them, that kept me very busy as well. So
Yes. That is, yes.
So.
Awesome. That's so cool. I love that so many of you were teaching, so many of you are pivoting virtually. Elise, do you have anything else to add to that?
Yeah, so actually during the pandemic, it was kind of like a reset button for me. For the first time in my life, I wasn't required to practice, a certain piece for each week, and I could just play what I wanted. So I didn't play, and there were no auditions, and there were no concerts to practice for. So I just played what I wanted. No excerpts for a year and a half until this audition was posted. But it just reminded me like why I was doing this career in the first place. And also I was really grateful because I really relied on my colleagues. They were also kind of struggling because there was no work. But and we would get together in their backyard and play quartets and duets and trios. And so that really kind of kept everyone alive and really happy. And our sight reading skills really got a lot better.
That's awesome. No, I mean, I think that's so beautiful to think about you and like with your trios and quartets and practicing. And it kind of reminds me like, when people say like, oh, sometimes they're like, I haven't read for fun since, years ago. Like I think it's kind of like a similar thing, it sounds, where it's like now you get to sort of sing for fun, or not sing, play for fun. And in some cases sing for fun, but you know, that's so beautiful to think about, you know, you guys, you just being able to create the music you wanted to create.
Yeah, and it made us,
yeah.
a lot of us better musicians in the end, because then when we came back, it was like we had a different skill set. I don't know, we finally got the chance to work on things that we normally wouldn't get to work on because we have to play this on a concert. And so it was, I don't know, it's kind of a blessing for me. That's my perspective.
Yeah. Excellent. Oh, I love that. All of you guys had such great, you know, pivots and or resets. So I think that's so beautiful to hear. We've come to the question answer portion. You guys have been giving us amazing questions. Feel free to keep them coming. I'm going to start asking them. So Emily asked, who are your musical heroes?
That's easy for me. You know, Ella Fitzgerald, Judy Garland are the queens of my life, the queens of my world. But, you know, all of the jazz greats, instrumentalists as well, have been huge influences on me. But my two big ones are Ella and Judy.
Excellent. Classic. Amazing. Anyone else?
For me, it's got it. You know, it's cliche. Same thing. Easy for me though. But John Coltrane and Sonny Rollins, without a question. You know, the scope of music that both of those players covered in their lifetime is still kind of mind blowing. I mean, all of the albums that John Coltrane recorded in his life was basically done in a 12-year period, which, you know, now that I'm 38, it's kind of, I'm like, if I compare myself to his life, he was done already, you know? So it's kind of, they're real living geniuses that we should all, you know, be paying homage to if we get into the jazz thing. But those two, for sure.
Love those popped into your heads right away. Who's next?
What comes to mind for me, I don't know, I didn't mention also that I'm a composer and I write a lot of solo piano pieces, kind of like in the new age kind of idiom. So people who I really have looked up to are George Winston, Dave Grusin, Peter Cater, a bunch of, you know, solo pianists who kind of have that new agey kind of vibe to them.
Love it.
My musical hero would be Gayle Williams. She's a very famous horn and brass teacher at Northwestern University. I knew I had to go there because I wanted to study with the best, and she totally is. She's now in her 60s and she's still just rocking it on the French horn. And she not only is a great player, but she has studied how to teach. So it's really great. She's like, she just knows what to say for every issue. And she used to be she had a leadership position in the Chicago Symphony. So that was also someone that I looked up to. And being a female in a male dominated career, well, I guess as a brass player, there's not too many women sometimes. So it was really important for me to study with someone in that.
That sounds so nice. I'm so glad that people get to hear all of your musical heroes and hopefully, you know, maybe look to them as mentors as well. I think Kira wrote in the chat that she's going to try to get those to everybody. Great question, Emily. Oren asked a really good question. What instrument did you start off with?
I started singing because I think we all start singing, you know, but I played woodwinds and piano growing up. So my main like instrument growing up was clarinet.
Oh, nice.
Some saxophone, but really E-flat clarinet was my main thing. Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah. But I've always been a singer though. Always been a singer.
Your voice was your instrument first.
Yeah. I mean, even though it was an essential part of my education as a vocalist to play instruments, and I recommend it to all my students and all of that, you know what I mean? It was clear to me from day one that I was going to be a singer. So.
Yes. Not surprised.
Yeah, I started right off on the saxophone. So alto the first year. Second year, I switched to tenor because it was a darker, fuller sound. And that was 5th grade. And then I just stuck with it.
Never looked back.
Yeah.
Cool.
I was a trumpet player, 4th grade onwards. And then took a liking to the piano, and that's kind of where I've stayed ever since.
Excellent. And Elise?
I started off on piano. My mom taught me piano. It didn't go over so well as my mom as my teacher, and it just didn't click as much. And then when I started horn in 4th grade, horn was hard enough, so I dropped piano, because horn is a very difficult instrument. My mom, so she used to be a band teacher, and she had to sit with me to practice because I wouldn't. It was so difficult, and she had to sing every single pitch to me for the first months on horn, because I couldn't tell the difference, because there's only 3 buttons, but a bunch of notes. There's 4.5 octaves and only 3 buttons, so you gotta know where that pitch is. So, but I started on horn. Yeah,
That's so cool. Great question. Emily has another great question. What is one non-music related skill that has helped you in your careers? That's good. I know.
Well, it's still a creative skill, so I don't know if it counts, but being able to write like words, not like writing music and composing, but being able to, that's come in real handy for a lot of business reasons. You know what I mean? Like, you need a bio, don't have to hire someone to do it yourself, that kind of thing. But I'm also a lyricist for different people. So that is probably right now the most fun, rewarding part of my work is writing lyrics for people. So yeah, writing, helpful.
That's so good.
Oh man, it's actually that's a very tough thing to say. Somehow in my life, everything has come back through the medium of music. So I guess I would say that the career choice isn't necessarily the easiest one, but I think everyone that's probably on this panel is probably pretty good at figuring things out, just from a practical, logical standpoint. You got to be a pretty clear-headed, straightforward person to be able to deal with everything that we have going on. So I don't know if logic, maybe I should study some philosophy or something, logic, but I would say that logic has helped me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I'll also add that, and all of you seem to have this, teaching. Teaching is a skill that it's not for everyone. Not everyone has that skill. Just because, we've talked about it a lot here, I want to point out that it might be considered a music related, might not, but some people, aren't natural teachers. So I would say specifically for you guys that might be something to think about as well.
Yeah.
Matt and Elise, how about you guys?
What comes to mind for me is just people skills, how to work with all different types of personalities, backgrounds, skill levels, especially in musical theater. Sometimes you're dealing with very difficult, divas. So, how do you work with that sometimes when, they get difficult? So yeah, I would say definitely how to interact, and like Sam said, kind of be level-headed too, and just, easygoing and not non-threatening, that you want to take somebody's job, or just being cool.
I'd say for me, I've really gotten into running for many years, and it's really helped me with breath support and everything, because I specialize in low horn, so there's a lot of tubing, and the lower the pitch, the more air you need, and I'm a pretty small person, and usually I'm up against people who are twice my size, so being able to be in really good shape is definitely helpful. And auditions are completely behind a screen, so they don't care what you look like. You just have to sound the part.
Mm, I love that. I love that they're blind auditions for music, because it's not quite the same in acting. And someone, Jordan wrote in the chat, performance skills. So all of you, have to get up and stage in front of an audience, and that's not something a lot of people can do. I agree with that. And public speaking, she wrote, I don't know if it's female Jordan or male Jordan, so sorry guys, but public speaking is apparently one of people's biggest fears. It's the biggest fear. I actually teach public speaking. And so that is something that a lot of people doesn't come naturally to them. So I think that's absolutely correct. I'm going to try to do one more question at least. These questions are great, guys. I'm really impressed. Another one is, Manasa wrote, any advice for a student who doesn't necessarily want to make a career out of music, but wants to learn as much as possible for the pure joy of it?
Oh man, we'll never
I
stop
know.
studying, never give it up. In fact, I would say probably about half of my voice students right now are people that don't have the intention of having careers, but just take lessons as a form of self-care, or, to just bring happiness and joy into their lives, because singing is fun. Singing feels really good, even to people who don't do it for a living. You know what I mean? So yeah, my advice would be to definitely keep it up and never stop studying. Yeah.
Most definitely agree with what Jane said. I mean, just the act of playing music, feeling connected to a group of people that you're with, and exercising your self-expression, especially as a young person, developing that kind of confidence as a young person. It's just so important. It's going to help you in the rest of your life. But then also, everything else we're talking about, being able to talk in front of people, have some kind of performance skill set, also be able to kind of decode the mystery of what goes into becoming a musician. There's so many aspects to it that it is going to require the use of all these different kind of brain functions, that if you develop these skills as a young person, it's going to help you in any career to be able to connect and communicate with other people, feel part of a group in any profession, because in the end, it's all about making music anyway, no matter what you do, right? So
Well said.
Yeah, just to piggyback off that, you don't have to pursue music. I mean, I think, I don't know, some people are pressured to pursue it. And I've met some people who are actually more happy and enjoy music more, who are not pursuing it as a career. And I think that's because music, it's becomes your work. Your passion becomes your work. And sometimes that can suck the joy out of it. And I think having a balance in your life, there are some ways to have music be a big part of your life, but you don't have to, make it be your living.
Great advice. So true. I wonder if we have time. Let's just do one more, guys. These questions are really good. I like this question. Lena asked, do you think the journey you've gone through to get where you are was worth it? I'll add to, all of you guys are super young and there's so much more of your career ahead of you, but just based on where you are now, and I know for some of you, we all have different journeys to get to where you are at this moment. Some of them might have been harder than others, but do you think that journey you've gone through is to get to where you are is worth it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. To get to play music is such a gift. Every show feels so special, it's absolutely worth it. Yeah.
yeah, most definitely. I mean, it's the famous quote of, like, someone asked Dizzy Gillespie what the reward of being able to play bebop is, and he said to be able to play bebop. So the act of doing this is just so fulfilling and so fun that it's something that touches you in a way that you really feel like you can't live without it. And to try to give that to students, to have someone understand that who might not have been coming from maybe a musical background the way I did, even if they don't pursue it as a profession, if they get a taste of that kind of passion and joy for life, that's gonna be something that they can apply to anything that they do, you know. And that's a feeling that comes across from all of the great people that we love to listen to. That it's really almost, it's not even about the notes of the music itself. The geniuses that we have all been inspired by that led us down this path in the first place kind of convey that kind of joy somehow magically, and that's definitely what makes it all worth it.
Love that. Anyone else?
There were definitely times throughout my audition days where I just didn't think I would make it. But I mean, now that I'm on the other side, I enjoy it, but it is not easy staying positive in this career. You get a lot of no's, a lot of setbacks, but if you just kind of still put the work in despite, you know, getting those no's and keep on showing up and working really hard, I think it'll eventually work out, and just stay really positive.
Oh, thanks, Elise. That's so important for so many people who may have to go through just the same thing, just years of auditioning. I know I've gone through it. I am going through it in a lot of ways. So it's super inspiring to know that, you know, there's another side, and then it's worth it there.
To piggyback on what Elise just said, you know, just showing up and working hard, like that is like so much of what this is all about. I constantly get questions from musicians, you know, oh, how do you get to play on Broadway? You know, it's just like, you just have to study and keep working on every musical style that exists, because musicals, you know, run all across the gamut of styles. And, you know, showing up, you know, even if it's doing something for free, you know, just getting your name out there, working with people, you know.
So true. And such a great positive place to end on. Guys, if I didn't get to your question, I'm sorry. All of them were so good. It was really hard to go through them. If we didn't get to your question, especially for the students, we will try to get the panelists to answer them and follow up with you guys after the event. Write in the chat in the last couple of minutes as I'm talking, what do you want to see in a future panel? What other kinds of events would you be excited for Usdan to host? We were kind of like brainstorming this idea of like not just panels, but like maybe workshops, like vocal workshops, music workshops, art workshops. So if you want to see any of that, put that in the chat so that we know. And also, we're going to be sending out a survey following this event for some feedback. So please let us know how this was. If there was something you didn't like about it, tell us. If there was something you loved about it, tell us. If you want to see things in the future, also tell us. And then for any alums in the audience, for other ways to stay connected with us, we're going to include our special referral discount for friends and family. You can visit usdan.org/about-us/alumni. And yeah, this has been so lovely. I want to thank our panelists for being a part of this. It's just so inspirational to learn from you guys, to get a sense of the type of music careers that are available out there, and to be inspired by you all. And thank you everyone in the audience for attending, for being a part of this. We appreciate you. We hope to see you again next month. I personally want to thank Kira and Olivia who helped organize this, and we're just so appreciative. I'm so full of gratitude right now, as you can tell. But thank you guys so much, and I hope we hear more from you from the survey. We can't wait to follow all of your journeys and your careers and support you, and we're just, you know, we thank you.